Siena, 1347. The plague loomed. But in the crowded home of the Benincasa family, 25 children strong, something else stirred. A girl, Catherine. She was small, too quiet, always watching. At 6, she walked up a hill just outside the city. And then, she froze. The wind dropped. The air tightened. She saw him, Christ, cloaked in gold above the church of San Domenico. It wasn't a dream, not to her. It scorched something into her forever. And at just 7 years old, she made a promise in secret. No husband, no silk dresses, no ordinary life. She was already spoken for. Her parents tried to break her. They laughed, scolded, pleaded. But Catherine? She began to starve herself. She locked herself in with her thoughts. She prayed so fiercely her knees bruised the stone. The neighbors called her strange. The church wasn't sure what to make of her, but something had already started inside her, a flame that no one could see. Not yet. They cut her hair. They burned her favorite clothes. Her mother locked her away. "You'll be married," they said. "You'll forget this foolishness."
Catherine, your stubbornness will ruin your future.
Catherine didn't fight back with words. She fought back with silence. For 3 years, she barely spoke. She cooked. She cleaned. She served her family like a ghost in the house. But at night she knelt in her small corner and begged God to stay close. Then came the vision. Christ stood before her. He held a ring. No one else could see it. It was invisible to every eye but hers. He said,
"You are mine."
From that moment, she was no longer just a girl with strange dreams. She was his bride. She began to rejoin the world, not as a child, but as a warrior. Slowly, Catherine's steadfast devotion melted her family's resistance. At 18, she joined the Mantellate, a group of devoted laywomen inspired by Saint Dominic. Within the solitude of her modest cell, Catherine encountered profound mystical visions, nightly grappling with experiences both joyous and terrifying. In one harrowing vision, Catherine found herself teetering on the brink of hell itself. Flames roared, souls screamed in desperation, and an overwhelming despair clawed at her heart, leaving her breathless and trembling. Fear consumed her. Until piercing through the darkness, Christ emerged, calm, authoritative, radiating love. His voice resonated deeply within her.
Catherine, it is love, not fear, that will guide them home.
Shaken and transformed by this profound revelation, Catherine embraced her mission with renewed clarity and intensity. She nursed the dying when even doctors fled. She washed wounds oozing pus. She kissed infected skin. People gagged at the sight. But she never flinched. In prisons, she held the hands of murderers. "You are still loved," she whispered once to a man bound for execution. He wept. So did the guards. At night, shadows danced on her wall. Sometimes she screamed. Sometimes she laughed in the dark. Visions, they said. Demons. Angels. No one could tell. Not even her. But the flame in her, it was growing. Rumors swirled like smoke. Witch, they whispered. Heretic. Some priests couldn't stomach a woman with such influence. The Inquisition summoned her. They wanted to test her orthodoxy, her spirit. Could she stand against Rome's scrutiny? Catherine entered the tribunal alone. One cardinal asked,
"Who speaks through you, woman?"
She replied without hesitation,
Not I, but he who is.
They grilled her with theological questions. She responded not with scholarly terms, but with searing clarity, simple yet profound. They found nothing but holiness. Some wept. The inquisitor said,
"This woman is no heretic. She is a torch against our darkness.
As word of Catherine's extraordinary spirituality spread, people flocked to her, desperate for guidance, healing, and miracles. One day, amidst the bustling streets of Siena, Catherine approached a young boy severely injured by a terrible accident. Moved by compassion, she knelt beside him, placing her gentle hand upon his wound, whispering fervent prayers. To the awe of all witnesses, the boy's wounds miraculously healed, restoring him fully. News of this extraordinary miracle quickly spread, further solidifying Catherine's divine calling. As Catherine's influence expanded, she discovered the power of the written word. Initially, writing was a daunting challenge for Catherine. Lacking formal education, she struggled greatly, often doubting her abilities. Yet driven by divine inspiration, she persevered, dictating her words to trusted friends who carefully penned her passionate pleas. Her compelling letters traveled far, capturing hearts and minds across Europe, including a daring one to Pope Gregory XI of Avignon. France. That's where the Pope hid, afraid, lost. Catherine's letter hit like a thunderclap.
Come back to Rome. Be the man God asks you to be.
She urged the Pope to return to Rome to heal the fractures within the Church. No one dared say such things, but he listened. Weeks later, he returned to Rome, ending 70 years of papal exile, a monumental achievement fueled by Catherine's faith and eloquence. Then, silence. Her visions grew darker. Days passed where God seemed to vanish. Her soul felt abandoned. Even her friends doubted. Some accused her of pride. Others feared her. Catherine had passed every worldly test. Her influence had shaken kings and cardinals. Her name had been cleared of heresy, but now she faced a trial that would demand not her intellect or her words, but her very flesh. Her body was beginning to betray her. She grew thinner, her skin pale, her appetite vanished, and yet her soul only seemed to grow brighter. It was during one of her long moments of solitude, kneeling in silent ecstasy, that she was caught in a vision unlike any other. She saw Christ's heart open like a wound, and from it poured a river of blood.
This is the price of love. Will you drink?
She trembled, she wept, and she whispered yes. From that moment on, her body became a chalice. She consumed nothing but the Eucharist. Doctors called it madness, but her followers watched a new light shine from her eyes. There were miracles. A withered arm restored, a tormented mind calmed. People flocked to her not for spectacle, but because they felt near her the unmistakable scent of heaven. Still, Catherine did not celebrate. For her, the miracles were not signs of triumph, but reminders of what she had pledged. Every breath she took was borrowed, every step a sacrifice. The Church was in crisis, one pope in Rome, another in Avignon, two men claiming Peter's throne. Catherine begged for peace. She wrote through tears. Her hands bled from the cold, but she kept going. She prayed, "Let me suffer if it will bring unity. Let my body break so the Church may live." And her body began to break, slowly, relentlessly. Her body was failing. She could barely stand, yet she continued to write. Her hands trembled. Her voice was weak, but her words were fire. To Pope Urban VI, she dictated,
Reform or be reformed. You wear the fisherman's ring. Act like it.
She traveled through cities, wrote to cardinals, and counseled kings, all while vomiting blood in secret. Her last public act was in Rome. Catherine, too frail to walk, was carried to a gathering of church officials. Her voice cracked. Her limbs quivered. But when she spoke, the room fell silent.
Let the bride of Christ rise from the dust.
Rome's heat pressed against the stone walls. Catherine shivered. She could no longer walk. Each day, her companions laid her on the floor so she could pray. Her eyes closed often, but her mind was sharp. Her heart sharper. Blessed Raymond of Capua stayed by her side. He watched her waste away. Yet he recorded her final words, her final letters. He said her prayers felt like windstorms. She dictated with trembling lips. She begged heaven to restore peace. Her soul burned even as her bones splintered under the weight of her offering. One night, someone heard her whisper,
"Take my life, but heal your church."
In her final days, her words flowed not from thought, but from something deeper, a current pulled from the heart of God. She called it the dialogue, a conversation between her soul and the eternal Father. She spoke of God's love as fire, of truth as a sword, of souls as trees rooted in humility. She wrote of divine mercy and of justice that burned with compassion. She taught that Christ was a bridge, his body stretched across the abyss between sin and salvation. Monks listened in awe. Even scholars found themselves silenced by her clarity.
This is not wisdom. It is thunder in velvet.
April 29th, 1380. She was 33. Her breath came shallow. Her body had given all it could. She could not speak loudly, but her last words echoed through time.
Father, into your hands I commend my soul and my church.
A hush fell over the room. Then the bells of Rome began to ring. But her silence thundered. Pilgrims came, and miracles followed. They touched her tomb and walked away healed. The blind saw, the lame stood, the hopeless found light. Her followers smuggled her head back to Siena. It rests now in the Basilica of San Domenico, still serene, still incorrupt. The church took notice. In time, she was canonized. Then, centuries later, elevated as a doctor of the church. Catherine was no queen, no scholar, no priest, and yet she moved popes, guided kings, healed wounds no surgeon dared touch. She stood when others hid. She loved when others judged. She burned when others bowed. And her fire? It lives on. She is not buried. She is burning.